Hey guys, Coach here. Hey, I appreciate you joining me for a few minutes. You know, this particular week's topic is just as much about landscaping, but not about landscaping. It's really more, it's a blend. And stick with me to the end because I think you will see exactly how I'm tying this all together. You know, if you take really an in-depth look at all the major inventions or major accomplishments over hundreds of years, you will see a common thread through them all. And that's what we're talking about today in relation to your landscape. Join me, won't you? Thanks for tuning in. So let's think about some of those accomplishments that we can kind of have come to the front of our mind right away. Those big accomplishments, those big inventions. How about something that we take for granted every single minute? As a matter of fact, you wouldn't be able to be watching my ugly mug if you didn't have it in one form or another. That's electricity. Then you get off into inventions like, how about the indoor toilet? What about the automobile? Our cell phones, things like that. Major architectural buildings that have been created over the years. Like that monster over in Dubai, and there's a big double tower thing over in the Philippines somewhere. I mean, these things are major accomplishments. They really are. How about in the medical field when certain scientists, certain doctors actually invent a cure for particular diseases, like polio and other ones. These are major things. So what is their main claim to fame? They are hard. They didn't just pop into someone's head one day. Maybe an idea did, but the actual invention, the proven product or whatever it might have been, took a heck of a long time. Now, here's another one. Take, for instance, major record-breaking feats in sports. Now, there's something that not everybody, including this guy, could ever have achieved. But there are those few, and generally just that one that was able to do it. If you take a look at the ability to correctly hit a 95-mile-an-hour fastball, or rush for 2,000 yards in a single football season, and the list could go on. How about even a horse winning the Triple Crown every year? Okay, these things come once in a generation at best. It's really kind of interesting to look at. So let's bring it home a little closer to landscaping, shall we? Why is it that people over the past 20 plus years, through thousands, tens of thousands, and in some cases, hundreds of thousands of dollars to me in order to do their landscape? Why is that? Most of the time, not all of the time, but most of the time, it's because it is difficult. It is not an easy task at all. But what a lot of DIY homeowners lose focus on is the fact that the hard part can be figured out. It can be flattened out as far as a learning curve, and the pain and suffering is just short term. It really is. It's just short term, depending on the size of your project, depending on the amount of time you can throw at it. Maybe it's a couple of weekends. Maybe it's 2 months, but it's still not forever. And if you get the right mindset, that's the whole key. You get the right mindset going into something like one of these projects, guaranteed you'll come out successful. If you plan, if you actually execute, if you do some due diligence, the end result is a brand new project. Whether it's potting up a pot of pansies, potting up a bowl of strawberries, or redoing, ripping out, and re-landscaping your whole freaking backyard. Either way, if you don't have the skills to start, there's 9 million resources that you can get in order to complete it correctly and successfully. I really can remember on more than at least 24 occasions when people would call me up for some type of landscape service. Now we'll take one, for example, broken sprinkler manifold. And you would go there, I would look at it, sure enough, either maybe they had a freeze fracture, maybe kids hit it with a bike, who knows? Anyway, it's broken. And they don't have clue one on how to do it. Now, number one, it can be complicated, or in some cases, it can be a 20-minute fix. And many, many times I had gone there and go, okay, I think we can do this, and I would give them a price to fix it. Then I would go about knowing what I needed to get into because I had the experience, same experience they could go learn about, and I would take maybe 40 minutes, maybe an hour to cut, saw, couple, reassemble, and put back together, and they'd be back in business. And I wish I had $100 for every time I heard, that's all you had to do? And I would say, well, yeah, that and doing it 100 times. They would kind of go, wow, I wish I had known that. I said, well, now you do. How about something maybe a little more laborious? How about a very bad, cracked up walkway or back patio that desperately needs to be removed and replaced? And some people look at that and they just go, oh my God, how am I going to do this? When if you really, really paid attention, looked at YouTube, there's probably 1,000 different episodes of something on showing how to remove concrete, reform it, and re-pour it. And I'd really suggest that you take a look at my ebook and course, because I go into that, at least in the course part, on how to go about forming and framing and leveling and doing all that kind of stuff. Pretty easy stuff. Heck of a lot cheaper than if you go out and pay thousands of dollars for someone to come demo your concrete patio out, form it up and re-pour it, unless you want to. You know, generations ago, and for me, I would say it was my grandparents and my great-grandparents, this kind of hard work was just commonplace. And when people had land or they had a home, they didn't really consider reaching out all the time to Yahoo or some other social media platform to get references and get companies that would come do it for them. They couldn't afford to do that. Back in the World War I, World War II, Great Depression eras, and even post-WW2, people did this stuff themselves because that was commonplace. That's how people galvanized and bonded themselves to their land and their property, because they had sweat equity in it. Nowadays, it is a home. It is where the family is, but most of the time, and I think I would probably be safe to say more than 50% of the time, people don't do landscaping themselves. They either do a weekend warrior approach to it, or they hire someone like Coach to come in and do it. I don't know how you feel, but I think in the day and age that we live in right now, I think there's a sector of our society, not just here in the US, but I would hazard to guess around most of the Western world at least, that people have become soft. They've become soft to problem solving themselves, fixing things they own themselves. Now, before I sound like I'm up on some kind of a pedestal, there's some things that I can't do, that's for damn sure. You know, I have a modicum of construction skills, but I don't think I'd go out without a lot of further education and build my own home, or tear out my own engine of my truck and rebuild it. Those skills I do not have, but what I do have is I know where to turn. I know where to turn if I have to, and what I've learned is very prophylactically, I prevent things that I'm going to have to rip my own engine out or rebuild my own home. I tend to do things and take care of things so that you don't have to, or if there are repairs, they're minor and they're small and they're fairly easy to tackle and do myself. In this day and age, things like ripping out patios and ripping out, medium-sized landscapes and stuff. With all the modern machinery that is available for rent, you can do this stuff yourself. Team up with some buds or some girls and you go out and you tackle it one Saturday. And it's amazing what a team of people who have good chemistry can actually accomplish, actually get done in a simple 8 to 10 hour day. It really is. Then that homeowner can kind of see the forest through the trees. They really can. They can see, okay, wow, what I saw at 7 o'clock this morning is now done, gone, and out in the dumpster because you approached it in a team approach. And I cannot stress that angle of success more than I already am. It is imperative that a beginner needs to team up. And if you know somebody in your circle of influence that has a little bit of landscaping skill or did it themselves, those are the kind of people you want to befriend. Those are the ones you want to have a beer with on Friday and say, hey, what would it take for you to come over and help me one weekend? We'll tackle it and then we'll barbecue afterwards. What do you think? What do you say? Very good to have those kinds of people in your inner circle. The other thing about self-reliance when it comes to landscaping and home ownership in general is the example you're setting for the next generation. If you got kiddos there in the house, there is nothing better than going out and mowing the lawn, trimming the bushes or whatever, and they are right next to you helping out. Maybe they're raking up, maybe they're picking up, maybe they're helping with the wheelbarrow and then you're wheeling them back in. Just to kind of bring the reward home and really solidify it after you guys get done with a chore like mowing lawns or trimming bushes or washing cars or cleaning up the backyard in the fall. Everybody piles in, they go out for frozen yogurt or they have a barbecue outside and you talk about what you accomplished and you thank them. These kinds of seeds that you plant early on tend to last a lifetime. They may go away for a little while, but they'll come back later on and you'll see it in them as adults. I'm very fortunate to see that in mine. Sadly, I was raised by a dad who had some pretty darn good carpentry skills. He built the house that I was raised in, plus a big 3-stall horse barn and water tanks and driveways and all that stuff. But what dear old dad lacked is the ability to teach. He never taught my brother and I how to do these things that we really could have used as men growing up or grown up. We kind of had to learn it ourselves and go through that trial and error phase. And I wished old dad was still here with me because I'd say, hey, Dad, knowing what I know now, teach me how to do those things. It is a gift that will last forever. I promise you that. Yes, if it was easy, everybody would do it. When you take landscaping, when you take horticulture in general, when you take other industries like the medical industry, professional sports, and some of the other ones that I've mentioned here today, these accomplishments are hard. Sometimes it is hard mental work, sometimes it is very hard physical work, but it's a repeated thing that becomes an expertise. And you can do that yourself. Maybe you're in the accounting field. Maybe you're in sales. Maybe you're in anything but landscaping. But it does not mean that you can't teach yourself a little bit. And with that knowledge comes power, and with that power comes the ability to go out and tackle things. Small at first, and then let it grow and let it grow and let it grow over the months and years to where you're pretty proficient and you don't have to rely on guys like me to come in thousands and thousands of dollars to do something that you can teach yourself. I am so grateful and blessed for the customers that I had over the years, but doggone, those were a lot of dollars. They really were. And these customers were happy to spend it. But what could they have done with those dollars had they done it themselves? Yes, if it was easy, everyone would do it. All these records, all these inventions, all those other things would probably have been invented much, much sooner, or probably could have been improved 100 times over. But because they're hard, sometimes they're avoided, and only by the few out there are they actually accomplished. So tell me something. Where do you guys lie in this? Drop me a comment. Are you a total self-reliant person? Are you someone that relies on everybody to get something done for yourself? Or are you somewhere in between? Drop me a comment below and let me know. I'm really curious. I'd like to know where my subscriber list is with this kind of thing. Hey, if you want to become more proficient in the landscape of your home, you can always learn from my website. I always have the 15-step giveaway there. I have the very economically priced ebook and always the course. You could spend that kind of money on just a consult with a professional, and here I am giving you 2 and 3 semesters of college education in ornamental horticulture and landscape prowess that you can use forever, and you can pass it on. Hey guys, that's what I have for you this week. If it was easy, everyone would do this stuff. Take a few minutes. Empower yourself with knowledge, empower yourself with a few extra skills, and you'll see how far it'll go. I'll catch up with you guys next Friday, every Friday. If you have questions that you don't want to share in the comments, you can always email me, please. youryardcoach@gmail.com. Not really hard. And for those of you critics out there, if you didn't notice, the intro is a little shorter because I don't want to turn you guys off. And if you don't know how to use that fast forward button, I'm sorry to hear that. I'll see you guys next Friday. To your landscape success, take care.